But there are a number of Trump lawyers and allies who have not been charged, specifically in that Georgia case. People like this guy, remember him? Former Trump lawyer Lin Wood. He first gained notoriety in the 90s as the lawyer for the security guard accused of the 1996 Olympic Park bombing. He later represented the parents of murdered 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey. Eventually, Lin Wood found his way to becoming a leading big lie conspiracy theorist, and he was so incredibly zealous and vitriolic that in the run-up to the Georgia runoff, he basically got on stage and told Georgians that things were so rigged they just shouldn't vote at all.
Where's Kelly Loeffler here? Where's David Perdue? He ought to be standing right here. Those two people want your vote, then they ought to tell you what we're telling Brian Kemp. Get a special session of the legislature now. Do not be fooled twice. This is Georgia. We ain't dumb. We're not going to go vote on January 5th in another machine made by China. You're not going to fool Georgians again. If Kelly Loeffler wants your vote, if David Perdue wants your vote, they've got to earn it. Why would you go back and vote in another rigged election? For God's sakes, fix it. You got to fix it before we'll do it again.
Can you imagine being the staffer that goes up to David Perdue or Kelly Loeffler and shows them that clip on the phone while they're trying to win this election? It infuriated Republicans, who would, of course, go on to lose both of those runoff races by narrow margins. Well, today we learned in a new court filing the reason why Lin Wood was named in the Georgia indictment but not charged. He is slated to be a witness for the state in District Attorney Fani Willis's RICO case against Trump, Giuliani, and 17 others. Joining me now are Anna Bower, the Fulton County correspondent for the legal blog Lawfare, and Harry Litman, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the Department of Justice. It's good to have you both. Anna, let me start on the Lin Wood development. This morning, it seemed like, okay, well, maybe he's like full out cooperating. And then this is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting. And I just want to read what they're reporting, that they talked to him. He said, I didn't flip on President Trump. That's just pure nonsense. I wouldn't have any knowledge to flip on him. He said he'd been told he will be subpoenaed by the prosecution, but he's not had any conversations with Willis about what questions he will be asked. What do you make of all this?
Right. So I think that there could be a few things going on here. One is that, we know that Lin Wood testified before the special grand jury that investigated 2020 election interference for more than 7 months last year. So he already has had this experience of testifying in Fulton County about these matters. He has some knowledge of the election lawsuits, as you pointed out. He also has some knowledge of some of the early conversations that were going on when he hosted people like Sidney Powell at his plantation in South Carolina. It was there, according to January 6th committee transcripts, that they first began discussing access to voting machines. And that is precisely what Sidney Powell, of course, is indicted for, in addition to the racketeering charges in Fulton County. So he has some knowledge about a variety of things that he could testify to. So it could be that he's just willing to respond to the subpoena and testify truthfully. Another thing that could be going on here, Chris, is that the state wants to use him to get evidence into the case. There's something called authentication that sometimes means that you have to put forward a witness who's able to, say that documents or other materials are genuine. So it may be that they want him for some limited purpose like that. They want to put him on the stand so that he can say that some kind of documents or recordings or emails are, in fact, what the state says they are.
Yeah, it does seem clear that at first I thought, oh, maybe he sort of cut a deal, because he was, in the clip we showed, he's advocating, this like facially authoritarian putsch, basically, where the legislature just overrides the votes of the people of Georgia in contravention of both Georgia state law, the Constitution of the United States, the Electoral Count Act. Harry, that doesn't look like it's the case, but it also reminds me that Fani Willis's office, as of now, has to put a case together against the first two defendants, Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesebro, in like a month.
Yeah, jury selection starts in, what, 5 weeks? Yeah, I can't see it. So the reason he's named is because she makes a motion saying there's different lawyers who have represented different witnesses. He's called a witness for the state here. But look, he testified, because he was called to testify before the special grand jury that recommended indicting him. I don't see any reason that the state would call him now in the cross-examination. This is a guy who most recently didn't even defend his license, rather, because it was such an overwhelming case, he just agreed to let it go. He's a terrible witness, but I think they're being comprehensive. It's easier to take somebody off a witness list than to add it. And remember, they came out in front of McAfee and gave that number of all their witnesses. I just think it automatically includes the people who were in the special grand jury, and that sort of as a kind of abundance of caution. And connected specifically to this motion, you should talk to the various parties about whether they're comfortable with their lawyers who represented other people at different times.
Right. And one of the things that's being identified here, right, the possible sort of antagonistic interest between co-defendants, right, and that has to be sorted out. And sort of looming all over all this, and we've seen this pop up in some of the things Jack Smith has said, is this the question of, like, who are the lawyers representing the various defendants, and who's paying for them and whose interests, right, are they defending? And one of the things that seems really clear, I just talked about Cassidy Hutchinson, who famously went from a Trump-paid lawyer to another lawyer and came out and sort of gave the full truth in her telling. That's how she says it happened. Rudy Giuliani right now is being sued by his former lawyers, claiming he owes them $1.4 million in unpaid legal fees. We know that he's been begging Trump to pay for his legal fees, that Trump sort of reluctantly did a fundraiser. But Anna, I got to imagine, like, this question right now, who is going to pay for all the lawyers? And are you going to keep people in the tent is a question of enormous consequence.
Right. It is a question of enormous consequence, and it's a question of enormous consequence, especially for those defendants here who do not have some of the resources that people who have deeper pockets do. RICO trials last very long in Georgia. They cost a lot of money, and so there's a lot of incentives often for people to plea out early on because they do realize that it's something that they might not be able to afford defending the case. And there are some of the defendants here who are charged alongside Trump who are, former teachers. They've sought to raise some funds, they're relying on the Georgia Republican Party for their funding. But if some of those funding streams dry up, you really have to wonder if they see an incentive to make a deal.
Yeah, you also, Jenna Ellis, for instance, who's publicly complained, she's also one of those people indicted. She's publicly complained, Harry, about the fact that she can't pay her legal bills. She's now said she won't vote for Trump. She called him a narcissist, I believe, which is like, okay, well, yeah, welcome to the party. But again, this does seem to create intense incentive for cooperation.
Completely. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Look, Jen Ellis is the perfect example here. She's got a GoFundMe site that I think, if it continues at its robust pace, might fund 2 days of trial. What are they really supposed to do other than get public defenders, which a witness in Mar-a-Lago, by the way, did before telling the truth. So even apart from the conflict problem, there's literally, are they going to be bankrupt? And then what? Look to Trump at the very end. These are dangerous people and dangerous times for Trump.